I am really starting to see why people say that an electric start is much easier to deal with than a pony start, because this little pony motor behind me has been so challenging to work with. If I had just a simple electric start like my dad's 830 has, I think that I would have been smooth sailing a long time ago. But instead, I've just been battling little things, getting the pony motor to run, getting the pony motor to start the big engine. Well, I'm still not there yet, but I think that I finally am getting this thing figured out, and I'm going to get this thing started at the end of this video. In the previous video that I did on this pony motor, I went in and I thought that I had fixed the problem because I replaced that clutch disc down in there. I found that the facings were broken off of that, and most of you probably already saw that video. If you didn't see it, I'll put a link to it in the description down here. But a couple of viewers informed me that there was still an issue with the starting transmission. So when I was able to sit here and spin this gear freely, I thought that that was actually a good thing. However, this gear shouldn't be spinning. And if I pull it out on the back side of that gear, you will see a brake pad. If you can see, there's a little rivet right there, and that's brake material, and that's designed to rest. It's designed so that then this starting gear, when it's in this rest position right here, and the clutch up here is not engaged and everything is free spinning, that brake pad is designed to keep this gear from spinning freely like it does right now. So if I had gone and just put that engine back onto the tractor as is right now, as I was planning on doing, I would have had the exact same problem. So I went ahead and I ordered that brake pad. It should be in shortly, and in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this transmission and split it from the actual pony motor and start to tear it down, get it disassembled to the point where I can remove this old brake pad that's worn and then reinstall the new one. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move the pony motor down onto the ground because I don't need to be doing anything with that. So it's heavy. I don't think it's that bad. Oh, yeah, it's pretty bad. I better use the engine hoist. So at this point, it's just going to be following through the manual all the way. I got about 7 pages I got to follow in order to get to this guy right here, that one. So quite a bit of disassembly. I've never done this before, so I will probably make some mistakes, but hopefully the manual will guide me through it and tell me what I'm doing. Before I get started tearing this transmission apart, I do want to check to see if there's oil inside of this. Here's your fill port or your fill plug. Here's your check plug. And then under here, right here, is your drain plug. So let's open that up and see what comes out of this thing. No water. Not very much though. Not much oil at all. Not nearly enough, I wouldn't think. So, good thing we're checking that. So step one is we've got to drive, there's this shaft that holds the
throwout bearing in place. Step one is we've got to drive that shaft out from the bottom, it says. So let's go ahead, flip this over. I'm gonna try a rubber mallet to begin with. I don't know if it's gonna work. No. Jeez. I heated the casting a little bit so that it's a little bit warm, just to help expand it. Okay. So here's that shaft. Step two is to remove this nut right here. Oh boy. Now I think I can pull the throwout bearing out the other side. It's interesting, it notes right here in the instructions, do not wash the bearing. So before I reassemble things, I will wash everything off and get it clean, but I guess I will not wash this bearing. I'll just wipe it down with a clean rag, and then I'll just grease it and make sure that it's well greased. Next step is to just remove these bolts and separate the two housings. There is a gasket between these two. Let's see if I can just pull it apart. Nope. Oh yeah, I did. I just want to try to limit the amount of hitting I do on this cast because I don't want to break anything. I think I might just stand it up on its end. And lift it off. That's probably going to be the easiest. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I need to disassemble the rest of this assembly right here so that I can get to the brake pad that's sitting back here. Very good, swift hit. There it goes. I heard it move. Let's see if it moved. I'm pretty sure it did. Yes, it did. You can see it moved. Okay. Where's that pin? That's a rusty guy. This is my biggest socket. Oh, look at that. That fits perfect. That is a 1 1/4 inch socket. Okay, now I have to move my camera so you can see. Oh no, you can still see. This comes out, and the spring is going to fall out, maybe 2 springs. Yeah, probably 2 springs. 1. There's 1 spring. I think I'm just going to remove that cotter pin that's on the bottom there. Hang on while I do that. Okay, while I was fighting to remove this old rusted cotter pin out of here so that then, oh man, this right here is so rusted, and I've always known that it's been rusted here, but everything down inside here is very rusted. So much so that there's like a roller on this that's supposed to spin. That roller is frozen. Can you see that? This roller right here, it's supposed to spin on that pivot on that shaft. Does not move. But anyway, as I was struggling to get all that out, the starter gear fell out, so that's good. But I gotta keep on going. I want to get all of this apart so that I can clean it all. I'm probably gonna put some rust neutralizer on it and then probably just paint it black and put it back. So let me fight with this rusted roller right here for a minute, and then I'll catch you up when I've got that out. I got everything taken apart. I freed this roller up, which is still, oh, it's not too hot anymore. That was frozen on the shaft. This shaft right here, as you can see, has seen better days. And it's just really, really rusted and corroded all along there. But it should still work. This is the fork right here that pushes this Bendex gear in and out to engage with the ring gear on the flywheel. And this is just a big, huge, not huge, but this is just a mess of linkage right here that I'm going to have to clean up and get working. So in the end, right here, where is it? That's what I was after right there. That disc. So I'm gonna go to bed tonight. It's about midnight. My phone's about to die. My light already did die. So I'm gonna call it quits for tonight, and I'll come back out tomorrow morning and remove this old one and put the new one in. So see you in the morning. Well, good morning. It's actually afternoon. I spent this morning doing a little bit of stuff off camera, but let me show you what I did. So here's what we've got. I have everything cleaned, and I disassembled it yesterday, but I came out this morning and I cleaned everything. I cleaned this housing really well, and I also drove out this seal that was cracked, and this is what I was after. There is still some life left on this. I mean, it's not worn out completely. However, this is very dirty and very oily, and so I'm glad that I'm go ahead and I'm glad that I'm going ahead and fixing it and just replacing it right now. So these guys are actually pretty hard to find. I searched the internet and I couldn't find any new ones on any sort of, any of the typical aftermarket sites where I've bought parts for in the past. So I actually had to go directly to Deere. I called a Deere dealership near me. They went ahead and ordered it. It was $160, which is kind of a lot, but I don't want to have to take this pony motor off again. I want everything. When I put this back on, this thing better start and it better work. So this is ensuring that it's going to work. And I appreciate the people out there who commented and told me that I had a problem when I was sitting there spinning in the last video I posted, when I was sitting there and spinning that gear, and they said, hey, stop, you need to have that brake pad inspected. So I appreciate your help, I really do. But anyway, I actually was going to just put some shims on the back side of this, and that would bump it out just a little bit, and then give it a little bit more engagement with that starting gear, and keep it from spinning. But I felt there's a couple of reasons why I didn't. First of all, like I mentioned, I don't want to have to do this again. It seemed like the part was hard to find, so I figured I might as well just buy it now. This will last me, the new one will last me the rest of my life. And also I feel a little bit accountable to you guys to do things right. If you're watching my videos, I should probably, if you're taking the time to watch my videos, I should probably take the time to do things right. So I appreciate you, your support, and also you are now kind of my my accountability partners. So anyway, thanks for your help. So let's get this thing tossed and let's get the new one out of the box and put in, and then let's just start reassembling. One other thing that I did this morning, as I was cleaning all of these parts, I noticed these pieces were really, really rusty. I talked about this one in the last, yesterday I talked about that. Anyway, I decided to take a minute and clean them off, and I just threw a quick coat of paint on it. I just had a bottle of, or a can of Rust-Oleum, kind of metallic black, so there's a little bit of sparkliness to these parts, but I figure it's inside of the transmission, no one's ever going to see it, but this will should at least protect these components from further rusting and deteriorating. So I can't remember if I showed you this yesterday, but this is that new clutch disc. I keep on calling it a clutch disc. This is that new brake pad, brand new, nice and shiny, and I think it's actually a John Deere part. I don't know how long it's been sitting on the shelf, but let's get this thrown inside, fastened down, and it just goes there just like that. I'll just snug these down a little bit, but then we might have to adjust it once we get everything reassembled. So just tighten this down just so it's snug, and that'll be good for now. There's that seal. That should be nice. Keep that oil inside of the transmission and keep it from escaping and slinging onto that brake pad that I just replaced. So. Okay, so that's now flush. I think that might work as is, but the other one was recessed just a tiny bit. So let's see if I can find a socket or something that's big enough that I can pound it just a little farther. I don't have a socket big enough at my house, but I do have the old I have the old seal. So let's just try using that. Oh, that worked. That worked really good. Maybe I'll do one more hit, and then we'll call that enough. That's done. I've got all that transmission housing right there, matching what it shows right here in the manual. And now I've just got to stuff it all inside that transmission housing. I don't think I'm going to show that on video. It's just going to be, my hands are going to be blocking any view that you possibly could see. Okay, so I just finished installing the shifter shaft down in here. There's a couple of springs on here. There's a heavier spring on this outside. This is the clutch stop spring. And then on the inside here, this is the clutch shifter spring. It's the lighter spring. The yoke that holds the yoke is down inside of there, and that's what holds the pinion gear in place. So now that that's installed, now I can move forward with installing this follower mechanism. Okay, that took me a little bit to get everything situated and reinstalled, but everything in this transmission is all put back together and it all works. So I think that's done. New seal put in and the new brake pad put in back there. So this is done. Now I can turn my attention to the other half of that transmission. Now that I've got this up on my bench, you can kind of see how it works a little bit better. This is the shaft where the starting gear rides on these splines, and then it engages with a gear that's on this shaft down here, and that shaft is a short little guy, and it's where the clutch attaches. So the manual says to get these apart, you kind of have to drive this shaft out toward the back. At the same time, you kind of hold this shaft and move it back. The bearings might be holding it a little bit, but hopefully it's not too difficult. I do have a new seal that I want to replace back in there. Hopefully I don't destroy stuff. I'm first going to try my rubber mallet. Hopefully that works. If it does, great. If it doesn't, then I'll move up to a bigger hammer. Oh, yeah. That wasn't bad at all. Okay. That. And that. So I'm pretty relieved because I've just spent a couple minutes looking over these and inspecting these bearings. The one right here on that big shaft, and then on the clutch shaft, both of these little bearings. They are both really tight and there's no evidence of corrosion. Oh, there's some lint from my rag. Even this little narrow one, I was nervous with this little narrow one that it would be really loose, but it's really tight. And so I'm not going to worry about having to replace those, which is nice. And there's no evidence of corrosion on any of the gear teeth. And this is kind of cool. You can see how the freewheeling mechanism works. So right now it's really tight, but if I try to run it backwards, there's rollers down in there that are kind of on wedges, and so it rolls this way. So there's the engine can spin backwards like that, or not the engine, the pinion gear can spin backwards, but when it tries to go forward, those rollers are wedged in place. Everything on this looks really great, so that's a relief. All I need to do now is replace the seal right here. Maybe I don't even need to. Oh, I've got it, and it was a $10 seal, so I think I'm going to. I'll just drive that out and pound my new one in. everything's all cleaned up. This is that overrunning clutch mechanism like I was telling you about earlier. It works nice and smooth, so I'm happy about that. All the bearings are good, and I've got the new seal pressed in, so we're ready to just go ahead and start assembling. The gasket that went between these two pieces was destroyed as I was taking them apart. So I made a new one, and with that, we can go ahead and mate the transmission housing with the clutch housing. There. That's it. There it is. Now the only thing I have left to install is the throwout bearing. So per the instructions, I did not wash this bearing. I did put a new grease zerk on it because the one that was on there was damaged. It looks like it had been hit by part of the clutch or something at some point. So I put a new grease zerk on there, and I did force quite a bit of grease in there. The instructions say to force grease in there until fresh grease comes out here. See, one more pump. Let's spin that. Let's do one more pump. So that's fresh, clean grease coming out. So this is well greased. There, it's pretty much all the way around now. Oh, there we go. I think that's what it is. Man. It is like a jigsaw puzzle. Just getting all of this to fit. About there. A little bit more. And that's it. That's seated. So this is exciting. This gear used to sit here in freewheel spin when I would spin it, and now it does not. There's enough pressure between that new between that new brake disc and the starting gear that it holds the starting gear stationary at all times. And even if I'm back here at the clutch side and I spin the clutch in reverse, the overrun mechanism engages, but this gear doesn't move. That did not happen before. If I spin it frontwards, it does move, obviously, like it's supposed to, but it doesn't just sit here and spin freely. And I think I have all the linkages right, because if I pull back on this lever, it moves that gear over to where it would engage with the flywheel, the ring gear on the flywheel, And then right here is where the throwout bearing moves over. So it looks like everything is moving there. Really quickly before I reconnect the pony motor and the starting transmission is I need to adjust the clearance between the pressure plate and the flywheel, the pressure plate and the clutch disc. It should be, after you press these little fingers in like this, it should be 5/8 of an inch. I've measured all of these already. They're a little bit too far out, so now I've just got to go ahead and make the adjustment by loosening the lock nut, screwing the bolt in to decrease the clearance, which is what I'm dealing with, down so that then it meets the 5/8 of an inch spec. It's not too difficult. It only takes a few minutes, but it's something that I got to get done before I put the two together. Okay, let's throw these two back together one last time. There. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fill this now with 30 weight oil, the transmission that is. And I've only got a quart, so hopefully it doesn't take more than a quart, but if we'll just fill it up until oil starts to come out that hole right there. Whoa! Oh boy, I really overfilled it. That does not take much oil. How is that possible? That took more than... Man, that doesn't take much oil. Okay. Well, oops. Well, that's plenty of oil. Won't need to buy any of that anytime soon. Oh man, this definitely smells like gear lube. So my hands are going to stink. Well, I got this thing all put back together. Now the next time you see it, I'll be putting it on the tractor, and this thing better be working. Well, believe it or not, it has been a couple of weeks since I was up here pulling that engine off of my 830, and I'm up here again right now to put it back on. And as I pulled up, I was surprised. My dad's been out washing all of these tractors today because there's a parade tomorrow. No, there's a parade this weekend, and he's supplying enough tractors for all of the kids, like high school kids and stuff like that in the neighborhood to drive a tractor. So anyway, they come over here and they do practice driving up and down the driveway, and then they'll drive in the parade. They all have, kind of raised on farms, so they're pretty capable of driving, but it's just a little bit different driving a hand clutch. Here's the funny thing, is there are all those tractors out there people are going to be driving, but no one's driving the Model A. I mean, this is where the real comfort's at. Look at this, you got your whole family can ride in here. Anyway, so maybe I'll bring my family up. We'll ride in the Model A. But here's the 830 over here, stuff piled all around it. It's been about a month, 6 weeks since I was up here and pulled that pony motor off. It's been a while, so let's get everything cleaned up and get that pony motor back in place. think it's down. I think that's on the pins. Yeah, everything looks lined up. That took entirely too long, but it's done. You saw I hoisted the pony motor in place and it fell onto those dowel pins really nicely and really easily. But after that, man, it's just been, it took me a long time to get everything hooked up. But everything is all done. I've got the coolant lines all hooked up. I've got the coolant lines up here hooked up. All of the wiring's hooked up. The fuel is hooked up. So at this point, we can go ahead and try to start this thing. And I am just praying that this is going to work fine. Oh, let me put this cover back on. I just finished timing it. So, whoops. Anyway, all the wiring's hooked up, everything. We should just be able to turn the key, turn on the fuel, and hopefully this pony motor starts right up. Okay, here goes. Turning on the fuel. Turning on the ignition. Pushing start. We'll try that again.
8:27 in the morning. But I am so glad that thing started. That's it. Hey, we'll see you guys next week.